So, Sahi Pro version 5.0, what's in it for me? That's the topic of the webinar. We will briefly look at what Sahi is good at. For those of you who do not know what Sahi Pro is all about, it is a simple web application um, test automation tool. It helps you automate testing of web applications. Um, Key features being that Sahi can easily record and playback on multiple browsers. It can also do scripting in JavaScript, Java, and Ruby, and it has almost all the things that a tester needs out of an automation tool. It has like record and playback, it has simple scripting, it has the ability to run on multiple browsers and to distribute test cases, to run from the command prompt, to integrate with Ant or your continuous integration systems, and to be able to view reports. So all of this is already inbuilt in Sahi Pro. Um, what I'm going to do now is to take you through a simple demo. So I'll start up Sahi Pro. So once you started, you see the dashboard. The dashboard is where you see all the browsers that you have installed on the system. So you should be able to see the browsers. If not, it is configurable in a config file to specify where the path of a particular browser is, after which these browsers should start appearing on your dashboard. Let me quickly launch a Chrome browser and go to a sample application. This is the sample application that we normally demo and that we have on our demo video too. So in order to be able to record and playback and actually create a small script, what we'll do is we'll navigate to that website and we press the Alt key and double click on the browser. This brings up the controller, and this controller is what lets us record and playback on the browser. So let's give it a small script name and click on record. Once you click on record, you can perform various actions on the browser. So let me put in the username, password, and click on login button. So what you see is, like, as I actually started recording, you see various steps being visible here, and similarly in the recorded steps, it shows all the steps that we have recorded so far. This is a simple shopping cart like application. We can add different amounts of books here, and when we do that, you click on the add button, and this adds all these particular books in those quantities on the shopping cart, and at the end we get the grand total. And let us assume that this particular test case is to verify that the total is correct. Okay, so what we do now is to press the control key and hover over this element. So what you'll observe is that as I press the control key and hover the mouse over any HTML element, I'll see that this particular element is being identified here, and also the value is getting populated. Right. So let me go back to the total. It shows me that the accessor is text box total. It has some alternatives, and I have the value of 1550 in the value. So I'll click the assert button, which creates a few possible assertions for me. An assertion is like a checkpoint, and it lets you figure out whether your application is behaving as you expect it to. So normally it'll say for this kind of a text box element, it gives us a suggestion of 3 different assertions. The first one says assert exists, text box total, assert is visible, whether the text box is visible, and that the value of the text box is 1550. Okay. Now we can play around with this by actually selecting one of these statements and clicking on test. It will tell us like whether it's working or not. We can modify it to see if there is a problem or how it behaves if there is an anomaly here. It gives us an assertion failed with expected 1560, actual 1550. So let's go back to put the right value here. Click on test, and what we'll do is Once we have checked this, we'll add it to the script by clicking on append to script. The thing to note is anything that we do on the actual browser base window is automatically recorded. Whatever we do on the controller needs to be explicitly added to the script using append to script. Okay. Now you can look at whatever you have recorded by either going to the recorded steps or by clicking on the script editor link here. So when you click on the script editor link, it opens up the script editor where this particular script that we are recording is being shown. Okay. So these are the various steps that we have recorded. Let's close this, and as a final step to our test case, also click on logout. So we click on logout and we'll stop this particular recording. Now let's go to the playback tab and run this particular script. We need to give the file that we need to run, the script that we need to run, the start URL from which we want to execute the script, and then click on the set button and then play. You see that the script executed, and these are the steps that were run. And to see the logs, you can click on the logs link at the bottom of the controller. This shows us the particular script that we just ran and the various steps that it performed in it. Okay. Now let us try to run this on another browser. We click set and then play. So you see that the same script works across browsers, and if we wanted to run it on multiple browsers, we could actually in a simultaneous fashion, we can click on the bin link here, which opens a command prompt, and here we run test runner. So this gives us a few suggestions. So these are the ways by which you can actually run this. So we will choose this particular option, and here we just recorded webinar 1, and this is the start URL. So this should run it on both IE and Firefox. So let us see. So what it does is it has opened up an IE instance and a Firefox instance, and they are both getting executed and both finished. So it says that Firefox is success and IE is success, and it shuts down. So you can record a script, play it back on one browser after the other if you want from the controller, or like totally come out of the controller and the browser mode, go to a command prompt and trigger the test cases from there and run multiple test cases, the same test case simultaneously on multiple browsers. Now the next thing I'd like to show you is how a particular script can be modified so that it is more maintainable and it makes more business sense. So what we'll do here is like we'll re-examine the same script by going to the script editor, and we'll load up that script. So this is a simplistic editor. It doesn't have much, but it gives you syntax highlighting and some level of refactoring support. So what we'll do now is try to convert this particular script from a sequence of instructions to the browser to a sequence of instructions that can be conveyed from one user to the other. What this means is, instead of talking in the language of set value of text box and set value of password field, we would rather talk in the sense of the business, which is to say, let's log in. So here what we're doing is to say that these three lines actually mean the login functionality. So we'll give it a name of login, and you see that it automatically separates out the function parameters. We'll click on continue. So when we click on continue, what it does is we see that it has created a function called login with the parameters extracted out, and then it has made a function call here which calls that particular login function with the values of test and secret. So we'll do similar stuff for the other things. So let's just do it for one more. We do this, and we'll also do one small thing. We'll change this to total because it doesn't look good. It's as $1550, and we save this. Now let me close this window, go back to the controller, and play back the same script. We see that the same steps have been repeated again, but in the logs you'll see it as collapsed steps, which actually tell you the function name. So it tells you that it was login with test and secret, add books, verify total, and logout. So if we had any trouble in any of those, we could open this and then click on this line, and it will take us to the line of script in the actual script. Okay. So it lets us figure out if there is a problem, how we can easily debug this whole thing. So let me do one other thing. I'll make this test case fail. So in order to do that, let me change the total, expected total, to something else. Now this test case should fail, and let us look at how the logs look. Now one thing to note is that when it is actually saying that it's asserting equal of 1540, which actually it should be 1550, it seems to be waiting for some time there. So the way Sahi works is, if there is any problem that it encounters, it waits and tries to recover from that scenario for a few times. So it will automatically wait for about like 10 seconds before it sees that, okay, this is not going to work, so it will actually go ahead. So let's look at the logs now. The script itself shows up in red in this overall list. When we click on it, it takes us telling that the verify total has failed. We click on it, it says assert equal 1540. The assertion failed. The expected was 1540, but the actual was 1550. So we know exactly what's happening. And if you wanted to know in the script where it was, like, you can go here. It takes us to the script. And if you wanted to edit it right here, we can click on the edit script and we can edit this and fix it. Okay. Now let us briefly look at the logs itself. So if you see here, this logs, all the logs are actually stored in a database. And when you want to view the logs, it shows you all the previously run logs, and you can search for a particular log if you want. Let's say that I'm looking for demo.suite. It will show me all the demo.suite that I ran, and I can also see some graphs here which shows me how it performed for Firefox, Chrome, IE, and Phantom.js, and how many scripts were run over time, how many have been like failing, passing, etc. Now I can also look into a particular run and see how the overall graphs look. So these are the times that each one of these scripts have taken. So I can hover over it and see which ones have been like longer, and the red ones are the ones which are causing me trouble. So like I'll click on it and it will take me to the actual logs. So here I can open it up and see what is going wrong there, right? So I can do this. I can also take screenshots. So in case of failure, so this is an error screenshot log. So if I look at this, it shows me that on script error, it actually there's an error, and like it takes a screenshot where I've called take screenshot function. So you can actually like embed. You don't have to do anything in the script. All you need to do is like call a take screenshot function, and it will automatically add the screenshot to your logs. So I would suggest that if you have any questions, you can ask us on the chat window. We'll keep track of it and get back to you on it as the webinar proceeds. Now, one of the things that happens with automation is once you have recorded and you have verified that the script works fine, you want to run it from in a batch mode, in which like you want to run 4-5 scripts simultaneously or without any intervention from the user. So what you can do is you can run a suite of test cases. A suite of test cases looks something like this. This is a suite where we have specified the script name and the start URL. This is the script name and the start URL. We can specify as many as we want. Okay, and when we have a script like this, you can give this to the command prompt, and Sahi will automatically load balance it and execute it. Execute it across multiple instances of the browser. So what I'll show you briefly is how you can. I'm going to take a smaller suite. So this is a small suite I have. There are 3 scripts, and I'm going to play this back. So the way to run it is the same. We say that test runner. We'll run it only on, let's say, Chrome right now, and we'll start from. So we are running demo slash small.suite because that is where it is. It's in the demo folder, and we will run it against this URL sahi.co.in/demo on the Chrome browser. So what you'll see is like there are 3 browsers opened here, and these 3 test cases are being executed simultaneously. So it says that this test case has failed. So what we do is we look at the logs. We can go to the logs also from the dashboard. We click on logs, and if you look at this, it tells us like which ones passed and which ones failed. So this and this passed. So error screenshot.sh failed, and we look at it and we see why has it failed. It tells us that like the expected was 1130 and 1150, and at that time I can also take a screenshot. So it'll tell me in the screenshot that it's actually seeing. I can see that it's 1150 while we had put in the script that it should be 1130. So this gives us like enough information about the playback to see why it has failed and how to fix it, how to fix the script. Now, note that when we ran the scripts, they ran in parallel. It is possible to control it to actually run it in sequence. And it is also possible to control it such that only one browser instance is opened, and scripts are played one after the other on the same browser instance, and then closed at the end. So these are all configurable parameters, and it can be tweaked in testrunner.bat. While I actually am talking about batch files and Windows only, the same things work on Mac and Linux. There are corresponding shell scripts that let you run the same thing. There is a testrunner.sh file which actually does the same thing. In order to integrate with build systems, what is normally required is if you could run something out of an AND target. So Sahi has its own AND target that you can use. So you can specify which suite needs to be run on which browser against which start URL, and it will run similar to what we saw in the testrunner.bat file. So one other thing I would like to tell you is, while we saw that scripts were played simultaneously on a single machine here, it's possible to use another batch file. Instead of testrunner, there is another command called drun, which if we run, we can specify which other machines to run the scripts against, and Sahi will automatically load balance the script across these multiple machines, spawn browsers on all those machines, run them shut the browsers, collect the reports, and give you a single consolidated report. Now, having said all that, like there were a few specific points that automation people in test automation actually look out for. They look at how do you synchronize when there are any Ajax calls, and they also look at like how to identify elements which are complex to identify. Do we use XPaths or do we use CSS selectors or IDs or whatever? So let me actually show you first the script. So this would be a raw script, and if you look at this, like this particular script has no waits in between any of those steps. That is because Sahi automatically waits for the page load and Ajax activity. So it will automatically wait before it figures out that a particular page is ready for proceeding further.